Saunas are a place for mischief, relaxation, and all sorts of shenanigans. Little did you know that they could also be the most nightmarish death traps ever imagined. Well, this is 2011's 247 Degrees. Spoiler alert, while I might be giving you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for going to watch it for yourself. Links to the film are in the description. And for those of you that need to hear this is just a movie. All stunts are for the sake of story and shouldn't be attempted on your own. Viewer discretion is advised. We start off with a car crash, and it turns out that the couple that was involved is coming from a wedding rehearsal dinner. Jamie ends up dying in the wreck, but Jenna survives. 3 years later, we see Jenna taking pictures of a waterfront landscape, and her friend Renee calls out to her. Ian and Michael are waiting by the car, and they plan to leave the car there since it isn't tourist season. They're definitely looking forward to the weekend, but Jenna seems caught up in her own feelings. Well, can you blame her? The love of her life died in a tragic car accident, and now her friend is trying to set her up with some random pretty boy. Classic best friend. Ian introduces himself to Jenna as her potential match date for the weekend, and they head out on the boat to reach their destination. Jenna and Renee head down into the cabin while the guys mess around, but once they reach the dock, Jenna comes up to take more pictures before they head out. When they go to get off the boat, they find out that the locals celebrate a pagan holiday, and they meet Ian's uncle, Wade. Wade is apparently the reason they're able to be there, and he got them tickets to a big party that night. Wade pours everyone some welcome shots, but Jenna turns down her shot. She heads inside to go get her bag, and she takes a look around the house. Man, I want this house. It's rustic but clean, and for some reason everything seems perfect somehow. It's no cabin from Evil Dead, but I'll take it for sure. Wade heads out to give everyone privacy, and Ian tells everyone where their bedroom is. Michael and Renee head up to theirs to start getting down and dirty, and Jenna's surprised that Ian's letting her take the other bedroom. When they hear the couple getting it on, they turn up some music and start drinking. Renee and Michael wasted absolutely no time at all. The second they found out where their bedroom was, they were gone and their clothes were off before the door closed. Later, Wade comes back, and they all sit down to eat dinner and open up about themselves. They find out that Ian wants to be a writer, but Wade thinks that he should just come up and work with him. After dinner, Jenna heads outside to take in the scenery, and she spends some time with the dog, Bo. Then Renee comes out to check on Jenna, and she wants to make sure that she's having a good time. After reassuring her, Renee tells her that it's time to go to the party, and Wade heads out to set some stuff up. When the girls go back inside, Michael tells the group that he found a sauna, and he tries to get everyone to get in before the party. Ian assures the group that he knows how to work it, but Jenna isn't really feeling it. Renee tells her that she shouldn't feel pressured, but Jenna tells her that it's no big deal. Ian gets the sauna going and the guys chill in there while the girls get ready. Jenna takes off a necklace that she got from Jamie, and she leaves her prescription pills on the nightstand before heading down to the sauna. Renee comes in first, and by this point, the sauna is at 182 degrees. That's already too hot. I'm used to 100 or even 110 degrees in spring and summer, but 182 sounds like death. Jenna gathers the courage to come in, but she brings a couple bottles of water with her. She leaves the door cracked slightly, but Michael walks over and slams the door shut behind her. Everyone seems to be getting along pretty well, but the heat really starts to set in for the group. Then Ian decides to pour water on the rocks to make it even hotter. Can I just point out that they're in 184 degrees with beers as well? This might just be me, but I can't imagine that cooking beer has a nice flavor to it. Everything here just screams the wrong idea. The group decides that they should jump in the lake to cool down, but when they're done, they hop back in the sauna to warm up again. Because common sense exists with this group. Michael's the last one to get in, but he's had even more shots before he got to the sauna. Just then we see Wade pulling up to the house, and the group decides to hop in the lake yet again. Then they decide to go back into the sauna one more time. This time, Michael decides to get handsy with Renee, but she's not wanting to have any part of it. Renee heads back into the sauna, and Michael drunkenly stumbles up to the bathroom where they hear a loud thump. When the others go to get out of the sauna, they find that the door doesn't open. They start to get a little testy with each other, but Ian assures them that he can get them out. Renee thinks that Michael's behind all of this, and soon Ian starts to think that she's right. Someone needs to calm Jenna before she hyperventilates in the hotbox room. And for a group that's trapped in a sauna, they're not thinking about the heat at all. Besides, aren't you only supposed to be in these rooms for like 15 or 30 minutes at a time max? I feel like they're already past that time. Jenna tries to rationalize the situation by thinking that Wade will be back soon. But Ian tells them that Wade thinks that they'll be at the party. He's not coming back to the house for a while. When he goes to look out the door window to try and see what's blocking the door, he and Jenna notice something blocking the door, but they can't really make it out. Meanwhile, Wade meets up with a man in a field, and the group tries to brainstorm some ideas. Renee mentions breaking the window, but Ian tells her that they shouldn't resort to breaking things yet. I'm sorry, break the whole frickin' thing. Start digging a hole, break all the windows, pull down the rafters. Ian then talks about heat strokes, but he thinks that they'll be just fine. This is absolutely ridiculous. This has got to be some of the worst survival instincts I've seen in a movie in a long time. Renee decides to try and break the window anyways, but she can't seem to get it. So Ian takes one of the stones, cools it off with what little bit of water they have left, and smashes the window. Once it breaks, the group tries to call out to Michael, but they get no answer. The thermostat on the wall keeps making the heater turn on, and Ian can see that a ladder seems to have fallen and wedged itself in front of the door. Now, Ian realizes that the heater's going to turn on to try and compensate for the open window. That means it's going to make it even hotter than the 185 degrees that it was set to originally. While Ian tries to move the ladder with a rock wrapped in a towel, Renee thinks that breaking the thermostat will make the heater turn off. I'd say that their luck just doesn't go that way. The way things have been going, they're probably going to make it go up to that 247 degrees. If you had asked me in the beginning, I wouldn't have told you that Renee would be the one to mess them up. It was definitely either Michael or Jenna. Ian looks around the sauna and he notices that he can probably short out the light. If he can do that, he might be able to trip the breaker for that room. He uses the ladle and towel to try and short out the electricity, but he ends up electrocuting himself instead. Now that that didn't work, the three of them suffer in silence and darkness. They crawl from one spot in the sauna to another to try and find a comfortable position, but the heater just keeps going. While Ian rests on the bench, Jenna and Renee start to reminisce about the good days when they were inseparable. While they talk about growing up, we find out that Renee is tired of trying to be friendly with her, and Ian unwraps the bandage on his hand to find that he melted. Just then, Bo can be heard outside, and the group tries to make as much noise as possible. While Renee and Jenna bang on the wall, Ian starts spitting up blood, but they continue to call for Bo and Wade. Meanwhile, Wade puts on his headset to shoot off fireworks for the party. Michael appears outside and he checks on Bo. When Michael checks on Bo, the fireworks that Wade's been setting up are going off, and they manage to drown out the sounds of the group banging on the wall. Suddenly, Wade shows up and gives Bo a ride to the house. Just then, Wade spots Michael walking around, and he asks what he's going out in the middle of the street for. Michael talks about how the weed he got from Wade was so good that he passed out early on. He looked around the house, but he couldn't find a soul anywhere in the house. He tries to go out to party at the club, but since he didn't have an invitation handy, he got turned around. Well, Michael ends up going with Wade, and back in the sauna, the group is barely holding on. They decide that they need water, but there's really no other options beside the bucket of water now. Ian asks Renee to hand him the bucket, but she just gives them a mouthful of attitude and leaves Jenna to grab the bucket. Renee finally ends up snapping and she goes to pull the thermostat. Jenna goes to stop her, but Renee struggles with her though. Jenna ends up knocking Renee out with a rock, and she ends up out cold on the floor. Jenna swears that it was an accident, but Ian thinks it might end up becoming something more serious if they don't get her out of there. Yeah, let's just add murder to the story now. They get points for Jenna being the one to hit someone in the head with a rock. That definitely took me by surprise when you look at the character list. I even expected Wade to be more of an issue than Jenna. Somehow, this movie actually surprises me quite a bit. While Ian's moving Renee away from the heater, Wade and Michael are sitting on a pier smoking it up, and Wade asks him about the sauna. Michael had forgotten all about being in the sauna, and he thinks that it's time he got back to the house. Back in the sauna, Ian tries to find out what happened between Jenna and Renee. Jenna tries to explain that she was keeping the thermostat safe like he said, but when he mentions that it might not be that bad, she decides to smash it herself. Sure enough, the heater goes full blast now. Ian really starts to crack, and his maniacal laugh really makes Jenna uneasy. He loses it. He hugs the hot coals to try and break the pipe, and he burns himself all over. When he hits the heater, the gas in the pipes combusts with the heat, and it ends up blowing the rocks into his body and the door bursts open. Jenna looks back to find him dead, but she stumbles out into the kitchen to chug a bottle of water. Then she makes her way to her room to take her pills. Before she can take them, she hears Renee moaning her name, and she sits on the bed to cry. It turns out that her escape was a delusion, and she comes to find that Renee is slowly waking up since the explosion. I have to say that I'm amazed that the gas explosion was strong enough to propel rocks into Michael's whole body, but Renee, who was lying right there on the floor, didn't get a single scratch. Aside from Jenna taking a rock to her skull, of course. Jenna goes over to Renee to check on her, but the gas is still leaking into the sauna. Jenna tries to get some fresh air from the window, and then she turns to try and carry Renee over to the window to get some fresh air too. Meanwhile, Michael stumbles into the house, and he grabs another beer out of the fridge. Jenna tries to make another rope from the towels that are left, and she uses it as a way for Renee to pull herself up to the window. Jenna swears that she's going to get Renee out of there, and she finally gets her up to the window to get some fresh air. Michael makes his way around the house again to try and find someone, but when he can't, he decides to sit on the couch and smoke one up. Back in the sauna, Jenna manages to plug up the hose that's spewing gas into the sauna, and she claims that they're safe now. It doesn't seem to look like it though. Ian's dead in the corner with burns and stones covering his body, and Renee's only being held up by the towels and passed out, and Jenna's got a mouthful of gas. Upstairs, Michael starts to dream a little, and we can see just what happened with the door. He had tripped over the floor when he left, and the more the crew had tried the door, the more the ladder wedged itself down. Later, Wade arrives, and he notices Renee passed out in the window of the sauna. Wade calls the police, and Michael keeps apologizing while the ambulance drives Ian's body away. Wade and Michael are filled with guilt, and Jenna and the others are wheeled off to the hospital. Renee reaches over and holds Jenna's hand as the ambulance speeds away, and a tear falls from Jenna's eyes. Then the credits roll. I don't say this much, but it was average. Not bad, but nothing to rush to see. It definitely has an interesting setting, and it has a feeling like a B-trapped horror movie that had a bigger budget. That being said, I don't regret watching it at all, and I'm still going to say it, give it a shot. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.